Okay, I have a few minutes to talk. So, I want to talk about going beyond sense enjoyment and sensual pleasures and things. So, what I mean by sense enjoyment is really anything that's meant to satisfy the body or the mind or anything that's connected to the material world. So, this includes food and pleasure and sex and drugs and power and opulence and wealth and really basically anything that we've experienced in the world. And going beyond that in order to find eternal happiness and a sense of connection and really a never-ending sense of connection that really intensifies more and more as you experience it. So anyways, what happens when you go beyond sense enjoyment is that you connect into a divine realm of yourself where you start to realize the source of the pleasures that you were experiencing through the sense enjoyment. Such as when you give up food, you get back a connection into source energy where you start to feel nourished by the prana that you inhale, by the sun that comes into you, and just by all of the energy of everything around you, like the other people and everything like that. You can feel the energy flowing through you, and you can start to tap into another kind of realm of energy, and you start like kind of pulling energy from everything around you, and not in like a vampiric way or anything like that, but it's more of like a it's like a flowing of energy, because the energy just comes into you and then it flows right back out to the source. And really, what as you cleanse yourself more and more, that energy comes into you and it becomes purified, and then it goes out and it purifies really anything that it goes out to. And the direction the energy goes out to is where you put your attention to. So when you give up sexual enjoyment, what happens is that you get what's called self-absorption into the divine. So you basically learn how to be able to absorb yourself fully into divine energy without having to go through a process in order to be able to do that. And instead of the experience lasting for only a few seconds up to a few minutes, maybe if somebody's a professional, the point being though is that like it really it lasts for a long time, and it really lasts for as long as you keep your attention on it, and then it can come back anytime. You don't have to do anything for it. You just start falling in love with God, or you start falling in love with yourself, or whatever you want, your divine yourself, your higher self. God really is what I would say. But like as you give that energy to God, it's purified and then sent back to you, and that same sexual energy that you were using in copulation and intercourse and in different kinds of ways of releasing the energy is then pulled inward, and it starts moving up the spine, and it starts coming out and circulating. And so what happens is that the energy, when it flows up and when it reaches into the heart, then what normally happens is it starts leaking out through the heart, because the person, at first, they're not really used to being able to consolidate the energy and keep moving it up. So when it leaks out, it feels what I call like almost like a heart orgasm. Like it feels literally like you're having like an orgasmic experience, but like it's coming out through here, and it's like it's like this feeling of like being lifted up out of your body in this feeling of divine union with God. And then as it moves further up, when it starts coming out of here, it starts to produce tears of joy and happiness, and then waves of divine calmness inside of yourself. So you just become so absorbed into the calmness of existence or presence that you just kind of melt into the experience, and you forget about anything. You forget about everything you're thinking about, and you just fully melt into the experience, and you become completely satisfied. Completely satisfied. As if everything's perfectly okay, and there's nothing that you need to think about and nothing that you need to do. And then when the energy starts to move up into here, then it's not only is it an experience of that loving energy that was coming through the heart, but it starts to envelop all of your experience. So really you can pull it inwards, and you can start kind of directing that focus of that energy, that kundalini energy. You can start to pull it in, and then when you focus it onto one thing, then you can either use it to incur or download a bunch of information or wisdom from something, or you can send love to it, or you can basically like strip away the veils and then look into the soul, and then fall in love with the soul, and then either connect with the soul or put yourself in a space where you're able to see beyond all of the illusion. And by illusion I mean like everybody has these things that they got going on in their life, and they got these things that are going on in their head, and these things that are going on, blah blah blah. Like they're thinking about something, and most people get caught up in those mind traps where these people like they put out this kind of like energy of what they think that they are, and then when people look at them, they immediately get caught up in that, and then they kind of like meld their energies together. So this kind of like puts a energetic shield around you, and it makes it to where other people's energies doesn't latch onto you, and you have a very clear perspective of who you are and where you're looking from, and you can compassionately see into the other person's soul, and you can look beyond what they're being in this lifetime, and you can see what they actually are, which is a soul experiencing itself the same way that you are. And then if you're able to pull the energy up to here, then basically you get pulled into this divine state where everything starts to dissolve in a way, but not in a bad way. It's like I can't really describe. So imagine just being able to I feel this from singing God's names, and then when I sing and continuously chant, then it gets to a point where you can completely disregard everything, as if there's nothing else in the world other than just you and God, and then after that it's just God being you, and